Okay, so what does the White House see as problematic with the way that the city of Chicago appears to have been run recently?
Yeah, well, I think there's a thousand things wrong with the way that Chicago has been run. It's a failing city that has tremendous crime. It's not educating its students. It's falling behind, and on top of it, it appears as though the mayor is hiring on the basis not of who's going to improve the schools, not on who's going to be the most efficient for the taxpayers, not on who's going to clean up the streets, who's going to reduce crime, but based on race. And so the people of Chicago deserve, by law, to be treated equally on the basis of race. But more than that, they deserve a government that works for them. And when a government is overcommitted to skin color and less committed to providing the services of Chicago residents, then yeah, that's a problem.
So the administration, especially during the first 100 days, and I know we're a little bit past that mark now, really took a sledgehammer to DEI efforts, not just within the federal government, but also targeting them with education systems that were receiving federal funds, that sort of thing. Where do you foresee that focus going forward?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a legacy item for President Trump. So not only, as you mentioned, in the federal government, did we cut billions of dollars of funding that went toward racial programs, including programs that required quotas, things like that. And such things like studying menstruating men, like really ridiculous grants that were totally rooted in woke ideology and not actually in improving the lives of Americans. So that has come to an end. But yeah, we're going to focus on the places in society where racism is so deeply rooted and then takes effect elsewhere. So let's just take, for example, law firms. Law firms have been notorious for hiring on the basis of race. They had entire programs that were simply race-based. You were not able to actually work in the law firm as a first-year summer associate unless you fit one of the approved skin colors. Even, being a female doesn't count. It had to be an approved skin color. So that type of thing, when law firms are the gatekeepers for the law, the people who become your lawyers, that shapes the justice system. The justice system shapes everything that we experience. Same with schools. If schools are hiring or admitting students on the basis of race, that shapes who the next generation of leaders are going to be. That shapes who has opportunity and who doesn't. And I will note one very unfortunate fact about race-based admissions in universities, which we are very committed to ending. The University of North Carolina, when these details came out in the Supreme Court case a couple of years ago, they had considered doing an underprivileged type of admissions program where it was basically your socioeconomic status, and they rejected it because it would let in too many white students. So they said, no, we're not going to actually care about you overcoming your circumstances, coming up in poor backgrounds, because that you'd be the wrong skin color. So rooting out nefarious racism in these key institutions in our society will continue to be a focus for the Trump administration.
How much work do you think still has to be done on this front? Can we expect more executive orders? Can we expect more action from the executive branch on this going forward?
Yeah, so the beginning of an administration has a lot of executive orders in order to put things in motion, and now it's time for implementation. So now we've set our standard of what it is that we're out to do, and I think now you're going to see a lot of implementation. And universities, I think, are so tired of being so tied to their left flank that they had to take down SAT tests, things like this. SAT tests are actually for the benefit of the student, because if you as a student are not able to cut it, you end up wasting thousands and thousands of dollars your freshman year, and you don't make it. Either that or you do make it all 4 years, but you can't get hired and you can't pay off your student loans. So things like this that universities actually like and that students actually need, universities are very excited to put those things back in place. And if they need a little nudge from us, then so be it. But I think you're going to see a little bit less on the executive order front and a lot more on the implementation of those orders by the Department of Justice, by the Department of Education, by HHS and others.
All right. Do you feel comfortable, confident, kind of discussing where the Harvard case stands now with the administration? Is that
Yes.
okay? Do you think we'll see a settlement when it comes to, the White House and Harvard in their current legal tug of war? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, if Harvard was smart, then they absolutely would change their posture and say, you know what, we do have rampant anti Semitism on campus. We have so much racism in our admissions process that the Supreme Court had to tell us to stop. We acknowledge those things and we want to change. But unfortunately, I think Harvard leadership at the very, very top, Penny Pritzker, is so committed to opposing President Trump rather than what's doing right by her faculty and by her students, that we're not seeing those changes. So I think there will have to be a leadership change probably at Harvard in order to see Harvard start to have a positive relationship, not even with the own administration, but like with her own students, frankly, and with possible admitted students.
And you mentioned law firms specifically as an example that might not be getting as much attention per se outside of the education sphere, which I know is making a lot of headlines as well. Looking at companies, some we've seen a lot of rollbacks in line more with President Trump's views on DEI, but some companies, Costco and Starbucks, are really doubling down. Could we see the federal government getting involved there at all? And if so, kind of what would that look like?
Right. So Title VII was passed during the Civil Rights Act, and it says that you can't discriminate on the basis of race in hiring, promotions, employment activity. And if companies like Starbucks and like Costco are violating Title VII, then the way that that looks is the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Council, first takes a look, and then they can bring charges. We'll be following the Title VII process and definitely looking into these private companies.